Hey guys, what's up? Today's video is going to be a January reading wrap-up, so I'm really excited to get into the groove of filming these. But yeah, today I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I read in January. So let's start with the first book I finished in January, Black Buck by Matteo Scaripour. And Black Buck is a fiction novel that my brother actually reviewed on my bookstagram when it first came out. And he really enjoyed it, and so I thought, maybe I need to revisit this and actually read it. It's funny because I bought it for myself, but then my brother read it and then I just left it on the shelf for ever. And my feelings about this book is kind of complicated because I really did think that it was very exciting, very fun, and I really think that this is the kind of book that non-readers would love because a lot of books are boring. So definitely this book is a good book and it's entertaining, and I think it would be a great movie or series. Just personally for me, it wasn't necessarily my style. So basically this book follows a 22-year-old by the name of Darren, a black 22-year-old man who lives in Bed-Stuy with his mom and Mr. Rawlings, and he's just living a pretty mediocre life. He graduated as the valedictorian of his high school but didn't want to go to college and is pretty much working as a manager at Starbucks. So, and when I say mediocre, I don't mean that's a bad life and a lot of people live that life, but I just mean everyone around him is you could be doing so much better with your life basically because you're really smart, whatever. So basically Darren, as the manager at Starbucks, ends up serving this CEO. The CEO's name is Rhett Daniels, and basically Rhett Daniels comes in for his regular, and for some reason Darren just will not give him his regular coffee, and Darren ends up convincing Rhett to buy a different drink altogether at Starbucks. So, everyone's looking at Darren what are you doing? Just serve him the coffee that he wants. But actually Rhett is kind of impressed by Darren's ability to sell him on a different cup of coffee that day. So Rhett's actually, Darren, I have something for you. I think you should interview at my company called Someone. And Someone is this kind of app therapy kind of platform where you can talk to someone, not necessarily actually licensed therapist, but just talk to someone about your feelings. And basically at Someone, they're trying to sell this platform to different companies to use. And this sort of platform is actually something that a lot of companies use to help their employees deal with mental health. I know that companies I've worked for in the past have had different apps to help employees maintain their wellness. So this is kind of based in fact. So Darren at first is no, I'm not really into that. I love my life. I love my girlfriend Soraya. I love living in Bed-Stuy with my mom. I don't really feel that passionate or feel upset with my life. I like the life I live. But then he actually goes back home and tells his crew about this opportunity, and everyone's Darren, you should take it. You're a really smart man. You're not living up to your potential. You should take it. So I'm not going to spoil the whole entire story. There's so much more that happens. I thought this book was a great analysis of what it takes, especially as a black person, to move up in corporate America. There's a lot of microaggressions that Darren faces. Some readers might argue that Darren was pretty much selling himself out and didn't really need to make all those concessions in order to move up. But to me, I felt it made sense. I just feel I don't know. The second part of the book kind of really took a turn in a way that I don't know that I was really expecting, and I don't know that it was really satisfying, but I thought the book was very interesting. So then I read this short Russian novel called Heart of a Dog by Mikhail Bulgakov. This book is really weird. It's actually a critique of socialism. The main character is a dog that is pretty much begging for scraps on the street until this doctor takes him in. And the doctor is a really hardcore anti-socialist. He does not like the housing association that is attempting to split up his apartment because he's one of the few people in Russia that has a 7-bedroom apartment in a country where at the time I guess people were living in 1-bedroom apartments because it was you should only take what you need. So the doctor is also a scientist, and that's why he's so respected and can get away with things in Russia. And every time the housing association threatens to take parts of his room or apartment, the doctor basically calls in and is I will fucking leave Russia if you take anything. So that's how the doctor maintains his kind of extravagant lifestyle. But yeah, so the doctor and his assistant physician have this idea to basically do a transplant in the dog. I don't know what they are trying to accomplish, but basically they take a human part of the brain and insert it into the dog. What happens is that the dog starts to transform into a human, but not just any human, a socialist, and a socialist who doesn't get along with the doctor. And it's really, really interesting and funny. It was kind of hard to read because like Russian language, even though it's translated, it's just like in a different humor, and I had to reread some passages to make sure I was like reading what I thought I was reading, but yeah. Okay, then I read another book on my Kindle, so I will just insert a photo, but I read a romance called Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, and basically on my bookstagram I had been requesting people to send me romance recommendations because I do not read romance. Generally I think romance is pretty corny, not really romantic. I don't know, I feel like people who write romance don't experience romance in the way I experience romance. Like, I don't know, personally I'd rather read romance in like a contemporary novel, which is why I liked Beautiful World by Sally Rooney so much, because even though that had a lot of romance, it was still contemporary and felt differently than a lot of mainstream romance feels. But anyway, I read this book, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and in it Chloe Brown is a Black woman who comes from a wealthy family and is dealing with a chronic illness that gives her a lot of pain and hasn't really lived a life because of it. So one day a car almost crashes into her and she sees her life like flash before her eyes. She realizes her life has nothing to speak of. So she creates a list of things she wants to do to like get her life back and have some memories that like if she dies or has like a near-death experience, she could be like, at least I lived a life. So anyway, one of the things on her list is to move out. So she ends up moving out and she ends up finding that the building superintendent is Red Morgan, and he's like kind of cute. He's like tall, redheaded, just like really cute, whatever. And they kind of have this like hate thing in the beginning, but it wasn't really hate. Like, my thing is, if you're gonna do enemies to lovers, because that's a very common romance trope, you gotta sell me on the enemies. Like, they weren't enemies. Like, it felt like, I don't even know why they hated each other. They were kind of just like randomly sarcastic to each other, which I just think is just so juvenile. Like, fake smart people think using sarcasm all the time is like a sign of intelligence, but it's like a sign that you have nothing interesting to say about yourself. I don't know. So I was just like, okay, like, you guys are being sarcastic to each other, but it's not giving enemies. So yeah, they're like kind of like mean to each other, whatever, until like there's a cat stuck in a tree, and Chloe, despite her pain, like goes up to try to save this cat, and Red like actually has to save Chloe down, even though Chloe was up there in the first place to save the cat, because Chloe can't get down. So Red helps her down. So then Red and Chloe end up talking. So Chloe's like, I can like build you a website if you'll help me with this list that I made on how to like get my life back. And so that's what happened. So, and then they end up like, you know, kind of like falling in love, I guess. I don't know. I kind of just felt like it didn't really sell me on the love. Like, I mean, there were like some sex scenes, and I guess they were like kind of giving, kind of, but that's not love. Like, I don't know, like where's the romance? Like, I just felt like I was like, okay, there's some like spicy scenes. I know the romance girls are gonna love that, but like they didn't talk about anything. And look, I understand what it's like to live with a chronic illness. Again, like, if you've watched my videos, you know I have sickle cell anemia. But I still stress this, a person with a disability is not just a disability. Like, I really hate when people write disabled characters and the only thing that disabled character talks about is their disability. To me, that felt very unrelatable. That felt like the disabled character was not written to be a full person. So that was one of my issues. Yeah, the romance didn't sell me on it. I just thought the language wasn't giving. The romance wasn't giving. The first sex scene in the park was good, but the other ones were like... So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. But yeah, that's it for today. I am going to film my February anticipated releases, so that video is coming up. To be honest, there's not a lot of like interesting books coming out this February in my opinion, but I'll make a video regardless. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.